Hey guys, before we start today's video, I just want to let you know that this week's video is brought to you by Loot Crate. Loot Crate, if you don't know what it is a monthly subscription service that delivers geek and gamer gear right to your door. Or mailbox, as the case may be. Personally, mine just ends up on the porch. My neighborhood doesn't have a very good track record with mail. And for you guys, Loot Crate is offering 10% off new subscriptions if you go to this link, trylootcrate.com/BlackScarabFilmZ, and enter the code BRIDGE10, as in Captain on the Bridge 10. This month's theme is Mayhem, and contains items from Rick and Morty, Office Space, which I personally hope will be a red Swingline stapler related item, and DC Comics. If you go to that link by the 19th of the month, you'll get that crate, and if you're curious as to what to expect, I've got July's crate right here, because I'm not only doing the sponsorship deal, I'm also a subscriber. That's a Hair Club for Men reference for you. We only do relevant jokes on this show. July had the theme Team Up, and included 2 t-shirts, which are themed to the Ant-Man and the Wasp, which is awesome. Although, disappointingly, I don't really know anyone that's the same size as me, so we can't wear them out as a double outfit. It also came with a Bill and Ted picture frame, which is awesome. Look at this, and you also get a free picture of Napoleon. And it came with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle magnets, 1980s cartoon variant, obviously. And it also came with, I've lost it under everything else, an Adventure Time pin, which unlocks free e-comics, including an Adventure Time comic and a Bill and Ted comic. So the theme was Team Up, and I actually really enjoyed this month. I thought it was good, so if you're on the fence and, like me, wanted to wait until you could get a discount on the first month, there's no better time than right now. The link, once again, is trylootcrate.com/BlackScarabFilmZ, and the code is BRIDGE10. Anyway, on to the review. Hello and welcome to How to Fix It. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I hit a wall. Burnout happens to me fairly often, especially when I'm doing weekly videos, and after a month of not fixing anything because of the fudged perspective, my brain wasn't really clamoring for me to fix anything else. When I reviewed Alien 2 on Earth, it wasn't because I thought it was a good movie or I liked it or anything. I wanted to cash in on Alien Covenant, but I didn't have time to track down and watch one of the really bad Alien movies, like Alien Cubed or Prometheus. Or more rather, I didn't have time to watch all the movies between Alien and those movies. So I found the crappy Italian ripoff so I could do an Alien video because I had just seen Alien and wanted to talk about it. But I did find that I really enjoyed the experience, and it allowed me to branch off a bit, instead of dealing with the usual gamut of lazy writing, crappy acting, and all that stuff. It was different. So when I hit the wall this past week, I remembered the How to Fix It viewer suggest-a-thon poll that I did last year, and I picked out one of the movies on it that I had never heard of. And that movie was Godmonster of Indian Flats. If you're thinking that this movie belongs more so on MST3K than it does here, you're not wrong. And Riff Tracks actually did do a riff of this movie earlier this year. But I'm never one to shy away from doing stuff that other people have already done, so I figured I'd check it out. It was available on Amazon Prime, probably still is, so I booted it up, turned it on, and I actually found that the movie, while absolutely batshit insane and terrible, actually had some interesting plot points, so that's what we're doing today. A crappy B-movie from 1973 that, according to IMDb, combines my 2 least favorite genres of movies, Western and horror. Though having seen it, I don't know if I'd consider it a horror movie. A horrid movie, maybe, but horror? Well, I'll let you see for yourself. This is Godmonster of Indian Flats. So the movie has like 4 stories going on concurrently, and none of them are developed properly. The first plot is the part with the actual Godmonster, where Eddie, a sheep rancher in Silverdale, an Old West mining tourist town, after getting his money stolen by a prostitute at a bar and almost beaten to death by local assholes, is saved by Dr. Clemens, a scientist working in the nearby Indian Flats. That night, after Clemens brings him home, Eddie discovers that one of his sheep just dropped a giant mutated embryo onto the ground, and he shows Dr. Clemens and his assistant Mariposa. Clemens wants to study it because it's probably the biggest scientific discovery to find in this place, and Eddie is happy to oblige, just wanting the embryo to be okay, since his sheep are all he has left of his family since his parents, also ranchers, are dead. This slightly pivots into a romantic arc for Eddie and Mariposa, who carry on a secret love affair at the local brothel. Clemens discovers that phosphorus gas being released from a nearby mine mutated the grazing area where the sheep eat, which transferred the mutation into the mother sheep that created the embryo. While this is going on, Mr. Barnstable, who works for a land developer, is attempting to buy up mining rights in the town for his employer. Because it's an Old West tourist town, naturally most of the town, especially Sheriff Gordon and Mayor Silverdale, are racist as shit and dislike Barnstable from the get-go. First, the sheriff frames Barnstable for murdering his dog with a stray gunshot, and then Maldove, the mayor's right-hand man, invites him over to his place for a drink, knocks him out with a bottle from behind, and shoots himself in the arm, placing the gun into Barnstable's hand, which is enough to get Barnstable thrown into jail without a fair trial, since everyone except the townspeople are in on it. The 601 Committee of Vigilance, which is basically the KKK, but they all wear black cowboy get-ups, decide to take matters into their own hands, and they plan to lynch Barnstable, but he fights back and escapes, being helped by local brothel owner Madame Alta, who had been participating in the screwing with Barnstable, but had a change of heart, and they rush to Clemens' lab to get Barnstable medical attention. However, Clemens is in the middle of his experiment and refuses to help, and when the mayor and his men arrive and start shooting the place up to smoke out Barnstable, Clemens gives Barnstable up to save the creature. So much for the noble scientist, eh? However, it's too late, and in all the excitement, the monster escapes. And may I remind you, this is a half hour from the ending of the movie, and this is the first time we've seen the monster outside of the lab, apart from when it was discovered. The rest of the movie has the monster's rampage, attacking townspeople and causing destruction in its wake, before it's eventually captured, with Silverdale planning to make it into a tourist attraction, along with making a deal with Barnstable's employer behind his back, and ruining his reputation, to reopen the mines, showing the rest of the town that Silverdale was just as corrupt. He just waited till the stuff he was opposing would benefit him. The movie ends with the town attacking the monster, and Barnstable, Eddie, Clemens, and Mariposa revolting against Silverdale's men. The Barnstable plot is actually pretty cool, though what it's doing in this monster movie is beyond me. I feel like Frederick Hobbs, the writer/director, could have made an entirely separate movie out of that plot that didn't include the monster stuff, because the crossover between the two plots is limited at best, and really, they barely cross over. Barnstable barely factors into the last half hour as they search for the monster. I think a businessman facing racism in a town and having to fight his way out of the town after a false conviction is a decent premise for a movie. I'm just not sure that it meshes well with the monster plot, but I'll go into that a little later. The monster plot is pretty standard compared to other monster movies of the time, or at the very least, other monster movies I've seen on Mystery Science Theater. It's the bad guys versus good guys and the misunderstood monster. And there's a bit that seems like Mariposa tries to reach the monster, despite nothing having been established previously to imply that they had any sort of connection. Not that the monster movies on MST3K are good, but it's not a bad premise for the plot. Nothing special, but not bad. And the idea of a mutant sheep is rather unique. But like Night of the Lepus, there's a reason no one had done a monster movie like this. There's not a lot going on with the writing, but it's a decent script. I mean, at the very least, the dialogue sounds realistic, and apart from some parts being a bit mumbly, where the Amazon subtitles literally said mumbling, I could understand all the dialogue, and the actors do a moderately decent job. Hell, Christopher Brooks, who played Barnstable, puts in a damn good performance. Better than anyone else in the movie, and way better than the movie deserves, if I'm speaking truthfully. And from a character standpoint, we do have some interesting characters. Barnstable, the racist sheriff, and Clemens are all archetypes that have been proven to work in the past. Plus, while the pacing wasn't great, I didn't ever want to turn it off out of boredom or disinterest, so there's that. And, I mean, the movie got a 4K Blu-ray restoration, so I guess it's good if it has that type of following. I mean, I'm the first one to say that bad movies deserve love too. I own both the soundtrack and the novelization to the Robert Stigwood Sgt. Pepper movie, but really? This is the movie you're giving a 4K release to? Other than that... the movie is incomprehensible as shit. There's a nonsensical plot, and nothing makes sense or is developed properly. Several ideas are mashed together, and none of them work. The plot jumps around like crazy, and I'd be almost curious to see the script, to see if it was editing or by design that the story jumps around. I had to look up another person's review to make sure that I could summarize it, because the first time around, I couldn't tell you what happened when. Between the two main stories and all the little subplots that mean jack all, it's hard to follow. Add into that how we spend a lot of time developing other characters, like Madame Alta and the racist sheriff's dog, along with the backstory of the town that doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of the story. And I swear this is all I heard throughout 3/4 of the movie.
Padding, 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 padding. Padding, padding, padding.
Meanwhile, we get scant stuff for Eddie, Mariposa, and Clemens, even though they're major parts of the movie and should be developed. They needed more development, and Madame Alta and the damn dog needed less. There's also the fact that the ending comes straight out of left field and makes little sense. I swear, I summarized it, but I'm not 100% certain that I know what happened. Silverdale seems like he wins, but the town revolts and kills the monster, and Barnstable joins in, and I have no idea. I also think that the movie takes way too long to get going. The last half hour is the monster rampaging part, which, I don't know about you, but when I watch a horror monster movie, that's basically all I want to see. A movie could justify waiting, like Alien or Jaws, where the horror comes from not seeing the monster and the anticipation. But for a movie like this, no. You've got to show us that monster. Not that the monster looks great or anything, but own your crappy monster and don't keep him in the dark for most of the movie. Or shoot your rampage scenes at night to hide how crappy it is. Godzilla in 1950-4 did this better than you, and that is obviously a dude in a rubber suit. Also, the camera work is boring. Nothing particularly groundbreaking, but nothing all that terrible. No stupid angles, or any angles in general. The effects are obviously crap, but that's to be expected, and I won't hold it against the movie. That much. The sound isn't great as well. I touched on that in regard to the dialogue being super mumbly. And yeah, the sound isn't nearly as bad as the ADR nightmare that is Manos the Hands of Fate, but it's pretty damn close. Honestly, split this into 2 movies. The Barnstable stuff is really good, but it doesn't mesh with the monster stuff. Hence why I think that the Barnstable stuff should have been its own movie. Played for serious drama, it would actually make for a decent movie. No, scratch that. It would make for a phenomenal movie. Especially if, without the monster plot, Barnstable would have been able to win. And without all the racism and stuff bogging down the monster plot, that could actually be developed, and maybe it wouldn't be quite as incomprehensible as it is now. Maybe some more backstory for Clemens and Mariposa and Eddie. Without 2 movies mixed together, the 2 movies would also lack the padding, because they'd have the time to develop their own plots in their own time. Also, show the monster more, but show it under more flattering conditions. B-movie creators have to use their low budget as an advantage and not a hindrance. Film at night so you can't see the monster that well, but you know it's there. Try some tricks to hide the low budget. Other filmmakers have done it, so I have faith that Frederick Hobbs could do the same. That would also go under the Split the Movies header, because if it was split, the monster rampage would have started way earlier, and he'd do some serious damage instead of just minor terrorizing and accidentally blowing up a gas station when the owner tosses a lit torch. I'd also get better sound so that the subtitles don't just say mumbling, because that's just annoying. But I think with all that mixed together, it could have been a decent movie. And that was Godmonster of Indian Flats, a god-awful B-movie that actually had the potential to be a relatively decent B-movie. Not Oscar-worthy, but a damned sight better than what we got. Frederick Hobbs had some good ideas. He just shouldn't have mixed them all into a single movie. And I don't know how rights issues work for this, but someone should give us our Barnstable action movie with, like, Denzel Washington or John Boyega as Barnstable, kicking racist ass in a backwater mining town. Though I'd accept someone putting together an edited movie poster for it. Overall, the movie sucked, but there were some good ideas hiding inside, and maybe the monster movie would have succeeded if it had a better budget or a better monster costume. Though I highly doubt that. But it was a fun experience to try fixing. In the meantime, if you'd like to see more of how to fix it, you can hit that subscribe button. And if you have any comments or complaints about the video, you can put those in the comment section below. Oh, and if you want to be notified of new uploads, you can hit that bell icon. And if you enjoyed this video, show it to your friends and share it around the internet. And maybe consider supporting the show on Patreon. See you next time for a little celebration of all the good news that came out of last week's Star Trek convention in Las Vegas. See you then.